Let us see the theory of comparative advantage. The statement of the theory goes like this. According to the theory of comparative advantage, even if one nation is less efficient than the other nation in the production of both commodities, a basis for mutually beneficial trade may still exist. The less efficient nation should specialize in and export the commodity in which its absolute disadvantage is smaller and import the commodity in which its absolute disadvantage is higher. So, in the new scenario, we saw that one nation is less efficient in the production of both commodities and the another nation is efficient or more efficient in the production of both commodities. Can trade happen in this context? The theory of comparative advantage says that yes, trade can happen. According to the theory, the less efficient nation should specialize and produce that commodity in which its absolute disadvantage is smaller. We know that the less efficient nation is having absolute disadvantage in both commodities. But in one commodity, the absolute disadvantage may be less when compared to the other commodity. They should concentrate on that commodity in which its absolute disadvantage is smaller. So that commodity is the commodity of its comparative advantage. Even if they are inefficient or less efficient in the production of both, they can identify one particular commodity of its comparative advantage, and that commodity will be the one where their absolute disadvantage is smaller. So the less efficient nation should produce and export that commodity in which its absolute disadvantage is smaller, and they should import the commodity in which its absolute disadvantage is higher. Hope it is clear. For the less efficient nation, they are facing absolute disadvantage in both commodities. But in one commodity, the disadvantage will be less, and in the other commodity, the disadvantage may be of an intense nature. So they should identify that commodity in which the absolute disadvantage is comparatively less. That is the commodity of its comparative advantage. And the other one where they are having absolute disadvantage in greater quantity, in greater magnitude, is the commodity of its comparative disadvantage. So they should identify where the disadvantage is smaller, in which commodity the absolute disadvantage is smaller. They should choose that particular commodity. They should specialize in the production of that commodity and export it. Now, when you think from the viewpoint of more efficient nation, what should they do? The more efficient nation should specialize in and export that commodity in which its absolute advantage is higher. So when you think from the viewpoint of the efficient nation, that nation is efficient in the production of both commodities. But among the both commodities, they will be enjoying absolute advantage in a higher magnitude in one of the commodity when compared to the other. Though they are efficient in both, in one commodity the absolute advantage may be higher than the other commodity. They should identify that particular commodity. So the more efficient nation should specialize in and export that commodity in which its absolute advantage is higher. How can you identify that commodity where the absolute advantage is higher? That commodity will be where they are incurring less cost, is it? So identify the commodity of its comparative advantage and focus on its production. On the other hand, the more efficient nation should import that commodity in which its absolute advantage is lower. That is the commodity of its comparative disadvantage. So when you think from the viewpoint of a more efficient nation, you know that they are efficient in the production of both. If there are two commodities, this particular nation is efficient in the production of both when compared to the other nation. But the efficiency may differ. They may be more efficient in one good than in the other good. So where they are more efficient, locate that particular commodity in which the absolute advantage is higher. It is the commodity of its comparative advantage, and the other one where absolute advantage is low will be the commodity of its comparative disadvantage. The whole thing can be summarized as follows. The less efficient nation should specialize and export that commodity in which it is relatively less inefficient. Clear? The nation is inefficient, that we know, but in one commodity the nation is relatively less inefficient. Identify that commodity and concentrate on its production. On the other hand, more efficient nation should specialize and export that commodity in which it is relatively more efficient. So here the more efficient nation, they are efficient in both, but in one commodity the nation is relatively more efficient. Identify that commodity. Concentrate on its production. Export that commodity. That is the statement of the comparative advantage theory. So in nutshell, the less efficient nation should specialize in that commodity in which it is relatively less inefficient, and the more efficient nation should specialize in the production of that commodity in which it is relatively more efficient. In this way, trade can happen. Mutually beneficial trade can happen between two countries when one country enjoys the benefit, or one country enjoys absolute advantage in the production of both commodities and another country enjoys absolute disadvantage in the production of both commodities. Now let us see the assumptions of the theory. First point, the world consists of only two nations, each using a single input to produce the two commodities. So we are dealing with a two-nation world. The world consists of only two nations. Second point, labor is the only input. For the sake of simplicity, we are assuming that the only factor input is labor, and this labor is peculiar. Each nation has fixed labor force which is fully employed and homogeneous. Third point, labor can move freely among industries within a nation but is incapable of moving between nations. So the third assumption is regarding the mobility of labor force. The labor force can move freely within a nation but it is incapable of moving between nations. Okay. Fourth point, very important assumption, is the labor theory of value that we have already discussed in the absolute advantage theory. So here the value of a commodity is calculated on the basis of number of labor hours spent to produce that commodity. That is the content of labor theory of value. is the hours of labor spent in the production of a particular commodity that matters. That labor constitutes value, or the value of a commodity is decided on the basis of number of labor hours required to produce that particular commodity. That is the labor theory of value. Perfect competition prevails in all markets. Another assumption. You may be familiar with the different market structures, and in perfect competition we know that there will be large number of buyers and sellers, and there will be no influence on price. The price will be determined by the market forces of demand and supply. So the perfect competition prevails in all markets. You don't want to explain the concept of perfect competition, just understand that perfect competition is an important assumption of the theory. That means large number of buyers and sellers are there. Another important assumption is that the costs are proportional to the amount of labor used. We have also already stated that labor is the only factor input, and therefore the cost of the commodity, the cost of production, is associated with the labor cost. When the labor units increases, the cost will naturally increase. So the costs are proportional to the amount of labor used. Free trade exists. There are no trade restrictions. Commodities can freely flow between countries. The level of technology is fixed. There is no change in the existing technology in the participating nations. Transportation cost is zero. Another important assumption is that the theory assumes that the cost of transportation is zero. And the last assumption, production is subject to constant returns to scale, which means that if the factor inputs are increased in the production of a particular commodity, then the total output will increase in the same proportion as that of the factors. That is all about the assumptions. So these are the assumptions taken in order to simplify the model. So we are setting the model on the basis of these assumptions, and the purpose of assumption is to simplify the model as possible. Now let us illustrate the theory of comparative advantage. Here we are taking two nations, Portugal and England. The two commodities are wine and cloth. So we are dealing with a two nation, two commodity model. The two nations are Portugal and England. The two commodities are wine and cloth. Ricardo measures the unit cost of producing wine and cloth, and it is shown in the table. See the table. Here the commodities are given horizontally, wine and cloth, and the two countries are given vertically, which is Portugal and England. The four values, these are the unit cost of production of wine and cloth. When you explain this table, you can see that when you take the country Portugal, as far as Portugal is concerned, to produce 1 unit of wine, the labor cost is 80. So labor cost per unit of production is given. So all these values show the labor cost per unit of production. To produce 1 unit of wine, how much labor cost is incurred? To produce 1 unit of cloth, how much labor cost is incurred? The labor cost, you can think other way, it is the number of labor hours required to produce 1 unit of output. The number of labor hours or the labor cost, both are correct. So when you take the case of Portugal, to produce 1 unit of wine, Portugal requires 80 units of labor. Portugal requires 80 units of labor or 80 hours of labor to produce 1 unit of wine. So 80 is the labor cost for producing 1 unit of wine. To produce 1 unit of wine, Portugal requires 80 labor hours. Similarly, to produce 1 unit of cloth, Portugal requires 90 labor hours. When you take the case of England requires 120 labor hours to produce 1 unit of wine and 100 labor hours to produce 1 unit of cloth. Clear? This is how you should interpret the table. So, the values show the number of labor hours required to produce 1 unit of each output. So, when you compare the labor cost, it is evident, it is very clear from the table that Portugal is more efficient in the production of both commodities and England is less efficient in the production of both commodities. Why? Portugal requires only less labor hours to produce both wine and cloth when compared to England. To produce 1 unit of wine, Portugal requires only 80 labor hours, while England requires 120 labor hours. Who is efficient? Portugal. In the case of cloth production, Portugal requires 90 labor hours to produce 1 unit cloth, while England requires 100 labor hours to produce 1 unit cloth. Who is efficient here? Again, Portugal. So, Portugal is efficient or Portugal is more efficient in the production of wine and cloth, and England is less efficient in the production of wine and cloth. In the two commodity model, Portugal is more efficient in producing both the goods and England is less efficient in producing both the goods. In this context, when you take the absolute advantage theory for explaining trade, the theory will state that there is no scope for trade. In Adam Smith's viewpoint, Portugal has absolute advantage in producing both commodities and England doesn't have advantage. England is on the disadvantage side and hence there is no chance for trade according to absolute advantage theory. But in Ricardo's viewpoint, there is chance for trade. Trade can happen. Mutually beneficial trade can occur in this context also. Let us see how it works. Take the case of Portugal. From the table it is clear that Portugal has absolute advantage in both goods. In the production of both wine and cloth, Portugal requires only less labor hours when compared to England. They can produce both wine and cloth more efficiently. 1 unit of wine production requires 80 labor hours and 1 unit of cloth production requires 90 labor hours. So when you compare the production process within Portugal, you take the production of wine and production of cloth in Portugal, you can see that for producing 1 unit of wine, Portugal requires 80 labor hours. And for producing 1 unit of cloth, Portugal requires 90 labor hours. Compare these two, wine production and cloth production, which is more efficient. The country is efficient in both, that we have already seen. Portugal has absolute advantage in both goods, it is there. But again, out of this, in wine production and cloth production, Portugal is efficient. But it is more efficient in wine production. Why? Because in wine production, they require only 80 labor hours. But for making cloth, they require 90 labor hours. To produce 1 unit of wine, they require only 80 labor hours. But for producing 1 unit of cloth, they require 90 labor hours. So the Portugal is more efficient in producing wine. So we can state that there is comparative advantage in wine production. We are comparing both wine production and cloth production. Which one is offering more advantage? In the case of Portugal, comparative advantage is in wine production. So they should concentrate and specialize on the production of wine. There is comparative disadvantage in cloth production. So in the case of Portugal, comparative advantage is on wine production. So we can clearly state that they are having comparative disadvantage in cloth production. So this is an analysis done within the nation. We know that they are enjoying absolute advantage in both goods, but when you compare wine production and cloth production, they are enjoying advantage in wine production. They are having comparative advantage in wine production and hence comparative disadvantage in cloth production. Take the case of England. Here, England is on the disadvantage side. They are facing absolute disadvantage in both goods. They are less efficient in producing both wine and cloth. We saw that 1 unit of wine production requires 120 labor hours and 1 unit of cloth production requires 100 labor hours. So here, when you compare the wine production and cloth production, you can see that the cloth production is the one where their disadvantage is less. Even though they are having disadvantage in both, the intensity of disadvantage is less in the case of cloth production, which requires only 100 units of labor force, while wine production requires 120 labor hours to produce 1 unit of wine. So the disadvantage, the magnitude of disadvantage is lesser in the case of cloth production. So we can state that there is comparative advantage in cloth production. The advantage is in the sense that in cloth production, their disadvantage, the magnitude of disadvantage is less, and hence the comparative advantage. Clear? So England is enjoying comparative advantage in cloth production simply because the magnitude of disadvantage is less in cloth when compared to wine. So we can also state that there is comparative disadvantage in wine production. So be clear that in England, they are having absolute disadvantage in both. Absolute disadvantage is there. Now we are going to compare the disadvantage. Disadvantage in wine and disadvantage in cloth. But the disadvantage in cloth is less intensive. The magnitude of disadvantage is less in the case of cloth. So cloth production is of comparative advantage and wine production is of comparative disadvantage. This is how the analysis should go on. Okay. So now we understood that Portugal is having a comparative advantage in wine production and England is enjoying a comparative advantage in cloth production. It will be very clear if you understand the same thing with the help of comparative cost difference. The comparative cost difference shows the difference in comparative cost. We know that Ricardo emphasizes the comparative cost instead of absolute cost. So here in wine production as well as in cloth production, we are calculating the comparative cost in the case of both nations. First, take the case of wine production. Wine production can occur in Portugal as well as in England. Let us calculate the comparative cost in both nations. first take the case of Portugal. The wine production. In the wine production, we are going to compute the comparative cost in the case of Portugal. The comparative cost can be calculated as the labor cost incurred per unit of production of wine in Portugal divided by the labor cost per unit production of wine in England. So that is how you should compute the comparative cost. So the comparative cost of wine production can be computed for Portugal as well as for England. For Portugal, we know that the per unit cost of wine production is 80. And for England, the per unit cost of wine production is 120. So the comparative cost for Portugal is given by 80 by 120. That is 80 by 120, 0.67. And in the case of England, we know that the per unit cost is 120 for England and 80 for Portugal. So 120 divided by 80 will give the comparative cost for England. It will work out to be 1.5. Similarly, the comparative cost of cloth production can be computed. So here for Portugal, the comparative cost of cloth production is 90 divided by 100. 90 is the per unit cost of production of cloth and 100 is the per unit cost of production of cloth in England. So to compute the comparative cost in the case of Portugal, you should divide 90 by 100. Will give 0.9, and the comparative cost of cloth production in England is given by 100 divided by 90. The per unit cost of production of cloth in England divided by the per unit cost of production of cloth in Portugal. So this is how you have to work out the comparative cost. Now you have to go through the comparative cost difference. We have to make a decision regarding what should be produced by both nations. In what commodity they should specialize. We have to find out that. Portugal should specialize in which commodity, and similarly what should be the specialization of England. To find out the commodity of comparative advantage, we can make use of this comparative cost difference. In the previous two slides, we have seen that Portugal is having comparative advantage in wine production and England is having comparative advantage in cloth production. We can reach this conclusion by interpreting the table. But now we are making use of another concept, that is comparative cost difference, to reach that conclusion, which is the commodity of its comparative advantage. As far as Portugal is concerned, the comparative cost of wine production is 0.67, while the comparative cost of cloth production is 0.9. Which is less? The comparative cost of wine production is less. So Portugal should concentrate on wine. This is the same conclusion that we have derived earlier. Here we are making use of the concept of comparative cost to reach the conclusion. We have to decide the commodity of comparative advantage. So Portugal, when you take the case of Portugal, the comparative cost of wine production is less when compared to the comparative cost of cloth production. So Portugal should concentrate on wine production. Wine is the commodity of its comparative advantage. Clear? And when you take the case of England, compare the comparative cost. The comparative cost of wine production in England is 1.5, while the comparative cost of cloth production in England is 1.1. Which is less? Comparative cost of cloth production is less. So always a nation will try to minimize cost. So here the comparative cost is less in the case of cloth. Therefore, England should concentrate on cloth production. So cloth is the commodity of its comparative advantage. Clear? So for Portugal, the commodity of comparative advantage is wine, and for England, the commodity of comparative advantage is cloth. So this is how we can take a decision regarding which commodity to be produced in each nation with the help of comparative cost. So here the decision can be taken with regard to production and export. Take the case of Portugal. The comparative cost of production is less for wine than for cloth. So they are having a comparative advantage in wine production. So Portugal should produce and export wine. Take the case of England. The comparative cost of production is less for cloth than for wine. The comparative advantage, they are enjoying comparative advantage in cloth production. They can produce and export cloth. So that is all about the production decision. Portugal will be concentrating on wine production and England will be concentrating on cloth production. Now finally, we have to assess the gains from trade. We have taken a decision regarding which commodity to be produced by both nations. Now, what about the gains from trade? If they concentrate on those commodities, Portugal concentrating on wine and England concentrating on cloth, what about the gains from trade? This can be understood by comparing the domestic exchange rate or domestic exchange ratio with international exchange ratio. See this. In the case of Portugal, the domestic exchange ratio is 1 wine is equal to 0.89 cloth. So here we have to find out the exchange rate between wine and cloth. 1 unit of wine is equivalent to how much of cloth? That can be calculated by 80 by 90. So here you have to think in a different manner. To produce 1 unit of wine in Portugal, you need 80 units of labor hours. Okay, if there are 80 units of labor hour, if there are 80 units of labor or 80 hours of labor is released, then how much cloth can be produced with the same amount of labor? You know that in Portugal, to produce 1 unit of cloth, you require 90 units of labor. So when you are given 80 units of labor, Portugal can't produce 1 unit of cloth. So 1 unit of wine is equal to 80 by 90 units of cloth. That is equal to 0.89. So here we are finding the exchange rate between wine and cloth. In Portugal, 1 unit of wine is equal to 0.89 unit of cloth. The labor force used in the production of 1 unit of wine is released, then that labor force can produce only 0.89 unit of cloth, because to produce 1 unit of cloth they require 90 units of labor. So 1 unit of wine is equal to 0.89 cloth. Similarly, you can work out 1 cloth is equal to 90 by 80 units of wine. If you release the labor force required, labor force employed in the production of 1 unit of cloth, then that labor force can produce 1.1 unit of wine. This is because for wine production they require only 80 labor force. The 90 labor force when released can produce more than 1 unit of wine. Okay. So you just understand one way, 1 wine is equal to 0.89 cloth. So this is the domestic exchange ratio. So within Portugal, 1 unit of wine can be exchanged for 0.89 unit of cloth. That is the thing. Domestically, the exchange rate is like this. 1 wine is equal to 0.89 cloth. Now the international exchange rate is given as 1 wine is equal to 1 cloth. International exchange rate, when the commodity is traded outside nation, then for 1 unit of wine they can get 1 unit of cloth. So comparing these two, you can find the gain from trade. The gain from trade is given by 1 minus 0.89. So here 1 is the international exchange ratio and 0.89 is the domestic exchange ratio. So when Portugal is exporting 1 unit of wine to England, if they export 1 unit of wine to England, then in return they can import, or 1 unit of wine is equivalent to 1 unit of cloth. So when they export 1 unit of wine, they can import 1 unit of cloth. Clear? So when Portugal take part in trade, they can get 1 unit of cloth in return for 1 unit of wine. But domestically, for 1 unit of wine, they will be getting only 0.89 cloth. So the difference 1 minus 0.89 will give 0.11 units of cloth. So that is the gain from trade. When Portugal take part in international trade, they will get 0.11 units of cloth. But if they don't take part in trade, for 1 unit of wine, they will get only 0.89 cloth. Clear? Take the case of England. The domestic exchange ratio is 1 unit of cloth is equal to 0.83 wine. This 1 unit of cloth is equal to 100 minus 120 unit of wine. Look at the international exchange ratio. 1 unit of cloth is equal to 1 unit of wine. Now suppose England is having no trade relation. They are having only domestic exchange. So when they exchange 1 cloth, they will get only 0.83 units of wine. Now if they trade with the other nation, Portugal, they will be exporting 1 unit of cloth to Portugal, and in return they will be getting 1 unit of wine. So in international trade, 1 unit of cloth will get 1 unit of wine. But domestically, for 1 unit of cloth, they will get only 0.83 unit of wine. The difference is 1 minus 0.83, that is 0.17 unit of wine. So when England take part in international trade, the gain is 0.17 units of wine. Clear? So these are the gain from trade. For Portugal, the gain is 0.11 unit of cloth, and for England, the gain is 0.17 unit of wine. So both nations gain from trade. So as per the theory of comparative advantage, international trade is mutually beneficial even if a nation is more efficient in the production of both commodities. That is the case. We have proved that both nations gain from trade when they take part in international trade. Even though Portugal was more efficient and England was less efficient, we found that there is a basis for international trade to happen and both nations gains from trade. Now, let us see the criticism of this theory. We know that the assumption is very restrictive. The two country, two commodity model is not a realistic assumption. In the real world, we know that many countries are there and they are dealing with many commodities. So, the two country, two commodity model is not at all a realistic assumption. Second important criticism is that labor is not the only factor of production. Here, for the sake of simplicity, we assumed that the only factor input is labor. But reality is not like that. Along with labor, you have to incorporate different other factors to produce a particular commodity. The theory ignores technological progress and economic development. That is also not a realistic assumption. And last one, the theory ignores transportation cost. So these are the major criticisms that can be raised against the theory of comparative advantage. Hope all of you understood the theory of comparative advantage. Go through the slides, listen to the video. If you have any doubts, please let me know. Now you are in a position to compare both the theories, absolute advantage theory and comparative advantage theory. So after listening to the video, try to write the notes on these two theories. In the next class, we will be having a small test based on the whole concepts that we have discussed so far. Thank you.